How do I invite my wife's devotional heart? And how do I demand more from her? That's our ambitious topic for today during the C-Note show with myself and Cynthia Cruz. Cynthia and I have over 50,000 hours in this field of psychology, teaching, coaching around relationships and intimacy and how to grow long-term monogamous connection and depth with your wife, with your long-term partner. And here on the C-Note show, we talk about how to learn to live and lead with mojo like a king, the lover that you want to be. Certainly going to dive into that today because her femininity wants safety, inspiration, and sexual leadership. And also, how do we avoid big mistakes? So let's jump into it right away. How to invite her devotional heart and demand more? Well, I'm going to start off with in my opinion, the prerequisites. So I'm going to start with a warning. I'm going to tell you what not to do first. I'm going to catch most men, I think, within these first three warning points here, but these are required for you to even have the groundwork, the framework to invite her into what you want in more depth, to even invite her to what does it mean to have a devotional heart or to demand more. You have to jump over these hurdles first or fulfill these three warnings first. Number one, you cannot invite into or demand from her what you aren't already being or doing for yourself. You can't ask her to go deeper emotionally than you're able to go. You can't ask her to pour into you if you're not ready, if you're not speaking with other men, if you're not exploring your own self and pouring your shit into some other container, not your wife. Don't treat her like a therapist. But if you're not doing this work for yourself, if you're not journaling, if you're not going into nature, if you're not speaking with other men, if you're not being introspective about your own self and what that means to you, how could you possibly demand that from her or ask that from her? Right? And demand is not an ultimatum. We'll talk about this as we go along. The warning number two, if you're still butthurt, you're not ready. If you're butthurt in this moment, if you're overarchingly feeling resentment or anger, or if you can't keep your emotions together when you're talking with her about this particular thing, or if you end up shaming her or anything like this, if you're butthurt or if you use negative emotion in this situation, you're not ready. You're not even ready to invite her. You're not ready to ask her for more or try to move her or invite her into a devotional space. And finally, warning number three, if what you're speaking about with her is not a hill you're willing to die on, then it's really not important. And that doesn't mean, again, you don't lay an ultimatum, you don't threaten. This isn't, this is not supposed to be a threatening situation. It's not supposed to be a blowout or a demand. It's not going to make it into a TV movie. Probably it's not going to be on the next episode of Friends or whatever. Okay, it's not supposed to be this come to Jesus. It's overarchingly, chronically in your life. If what you're speaking about, if devotional connection and relationship is not a hill you're willing to die on, overarchingly, then really it's not important. In other words, you can't stand up and ask for something that really isn't that important to you. And if you're not willing to eventually no longer be in relationship with someone who doesn't step towards you in devotion, if someone isn't willing to open together with you, then ultimately this isn't a hill you're willing to die on. And ultimately, it's not that important. You'll end up folding or caving or making excuses for yourself. You'll rationalize it for yourself. We see this all the time. You'll rationalize it, reverse emotionally rationalize. Oh, this is why, I'm not fulfilled within relationship. Excuse. And usually they start with number one and number two here. Right? You're not leaning in, you're not doing your own work, and you're asking her to do something. Why should she trust you if you're not doing it? And if you're in an emotional butthurt kind of space of resentment or anger, there's no way in hell she wants to follow you into that. That doesn't feel like devotion to her. And you haven't been upholding this depth of demand for your own self. So why should she follow you? Right? And ultimately, if this isn't a hill you're willing to die on, it's not that important. Like, for instance, physical fitness. If I'm not going to the gym and I make excuses or I half-ass it, or I seem to be injured every single week and then I can't do anything, and there's this excuse for me being on the couch all the time, that's not really a hill I'm willing to die on. It's just some bullshit that I'm touting. So how important is physical fitness to me, going to the gym? It has to be a priority, just like demanding her in devotional heart or inviting her into more depth has to be something that ultimately is a hill you're willing to die on. Cynthia, let's start with this page here, and there's certainly more for us to get into today. How does this come across to you? If a man is, let's say, demanding something or inviting her, but he doesn't follow through on that himself. He's asking her to be more open or connecting or loving or sexual, but he's just expecting it to come easy, where she has to do the work, let's say. He just wants it to be easy. Or number two, he gets butthurt and angry if things don't go his way. Or if he just caves on these kind of things and pushes it down the road, just passes the buck. How does this feel to a woman if he, let's say, wants more sex from her or wants more in the relationship if he's not doing these things?
Yeah, she'll feel that like a tremendous amount of pressure, and that pressure will hit her in different ways. She might conceptualize it that, she's being expected to be perfect and on top of everything. And then she'll look through her eyes. She'll view you as like, you don't have the same requirements for yourself. And women do a lot of this calculating. They're very in tune with, if someone's asking them to do something that they're not doing themselves, it will come across, they'll feel like it's really, really unfair, or it will put them into a story about who you are and what you want, and you having unreasonable demands of them. And in the end, I think the most important one, if she doesn't feel that this is a hill that you're willing to die on, it very much can be put in a low-level basket of hers, assuming that this is all about you, assuming that you're only thinking about yourself. And as unfair as that comes across, she will respond with anger or distance, or even confusion about what you're really wanting from her.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. The biggest indicator here is, can you, with open eyes and an open heart and true integrity, go to another man and say that you are working on these things, that you are being and doing what you're asking, that you are emotionally level, that this is a hill you're willing to die on? If you can speak about all of this with other men, for instance, in this group or another trusted space where men are working on their own depth and awareness and value. If you can talk with another man about this, okay, that's a huge indicator. Just turning to your woman and sort of hoping that you're doing all the right things is never going to give you a grounding or an understanding. You're going to be blown over by her challenge, which that's incumbent upon the feminine to challenge you. That's a part of feminine energy. So if you go to her and say, like, I would love to have more one-on-one intimate time with you, whether we just go for a walk or sit on the couch, and she throws back in your face, you're always working. This really isn't that important to you. You're just wanting sex or something like this. And if you don't know down to your bones, to your head, heart, and balls of what you're asking her, that you're asking her something to step into and that you feel good about yourself, if you're not grounded in that, her challenge is going to make you question yourself, most likely, because you care about this woman deeply, right? So what happens if I say, and a woman, well, you're always busy, you don't prioritize this, what are you talking about? And I waver, like, well, maybe this is what then happens to a woman when she's pushing there. She's wanting to find out, well, what does he really think about this? Is he really stepping up into this? Is he going to collapse? She's unconsciously testing, or this is really that important to him. If I'm like, well, what does that feel like to a woman in that spot?
Yes. So she won't feel the soul request behind that. And so again, she could go into the mode of more of her masculine, like, you ask something, she immediately goes into the habit of being masculine and like denying or putting down what you're asking. She could see you process what she's saying with confusion and feel like then she can't trust you, like, because you ask something and then there's like anger that comes if she doesn't proceed with what's going on. And overall, it will feel like there's a path for her to flow on with you, because the the sides of the road, there's divots and grooves, and she's just not sure what direction that you're leading.
So if you're not in a strong direction inviting her along, she gets easily pulled. It feels like she's pulled away.
Yeah, the things on her to-dos, the things that give her anchoring in her world will have massively more pull on her than what you're bringing to this relationship space.
I love what you said about the soul calling, the call to this true soul underneath that.
Yeah.
That's where we're going. I'm going to jump forward. What does this actually look like? Or what do I do? How do I even begin to understand what this can look like? Well, we're only going to be able to go so deep in this particular call, right? So this is to give you a taste of what Cynthia and I teach in our one-on-one coaching and our groups, and what we are going to be teaching more specifically ongoing. We're developing an advanced class around sexuality, devotion, openness. And so this is a bit of a taste today of what this looks like and what we're going to start to get into over time more and more. Okay, this is from the book Dear Lover. This is an advanced book. It's written by David Data as if he is the woman's lover. So he's presenting himself as, let's say, very aware man in relationship with the woman who he's writing to in the book. So it's generally a woman reading this. But the reason I go to this is so you can see what it's like from a man's point of view as he speaks to a woman with advanced ability, with advanced words, actions, being, energy in his body, to give you an example. So let's jump forward here. This is from chapter 7. I cut and paste different excerpts. So it's not just in this flow in the book. I presented this in this way for you here today. So chapter 7 is entitled Love and Fear. And he's again speaking to a woman. He says, you and I both have our excuses for not opening in love with each other. Still, both of our hearts yearn to open and commune in love. I want to make this commitment with you. I will do my best to open through my fears and truly see you, he says to his woman, feel you and bloom you open to God with my love. And whatever open to God means to you, it might just be the depth of bliss. It might be to discover something that you've never experienced about yourself or herself, emotionally or spiritually or sexually. So whatever blooming open to God means to you, it's a blooming more open into depth and ever growing. He continues, will you meet me in this commitment? Will you promise to open and give your love's offering as best you can, even when you're afraid of hurt? If we can each commit to opening, there is no limit to how deeply our love can grow or how fully our gifts may flower. Okay, now don't go to your woman and say, will you commit and promise to do this? Okay, don't do that. Here's a bit of my point of this paragraph. If you were speaking to yourself, if I said to you, you can do this with a woman, you can be committed within yourself to opening love to God, to offering love as best you can, and asking her to open to you, even when you are hurt as a man, or even when you're afraid as a man, or even when she's hurt or afraid, that if you can lead her to committing to open, if you can lead her to opening, and it's your commitment to attempt to lead her there and practice leading her there, there's no limit to how deeply the love can grow between the two of you. How is that different? So if I say, one, will you commit to this with me? It sounds like a masculine request.
Mm-hmm.
But if I just know these things and I'm going toward this and I'm inviting you through action and being over time, how is that different than just me going, hey, I read in this book that if we commit to opening to each other, do you commit? Do you promise? How is that different?
Yeah, that's a great question, because the latter, the invitation, it is invitational energy, and you're actually showing her with the set of your body and the integration of your masculinity, how her water can flow with you, toward you. Whereas the verbal, will you commit? I actually feel automatically this sense of anxiety and being blocked in and stuck in a box. And I think because it is a more masculine request. So if you're asking something from her that's eliciting her feminine response, that feminine can only respond with your body, your heart, your soul leading. She can't respond in femininity within a masculine request, because her masculine will feel that. And then again, the other things in her world that she knows she has to take care of are going to take priority in that part of her energy.
Actually, Joe posted on the forum today about if I'm going to be out of town and I ask my woman to take out the trash, that's one thing. And then what if she doesn't? That's yet another thing. And how do we handle that? And this is similar in that if I'm asking my woman a logical question to promise something, to do a task, that she has to go into masculine mode. And I love what you just said. She cannot respond from feminine when you're asking her to be in masculine like that.
Yeah.
It's something we unintentionally do. And in relationship, we get so bogged down in responsibilities, taking out the trash, paying the bills, that the amount of time we're actually in lover energy together and polarized energy together just falls off the table. And that's how over time we lull into this roommate situation. Real quick, men are terrified of a woman's depth of love and the energy that moves as a woman's sexuality and emotions. In other words, she has the whole weight of the ocean really within her sexuality, within her emotions. And an average man is terrified of that. I speak with men every day that just literally turn away from their woman's emotions. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They just cross their fingers and hope it goes away, basically. Continue. And at the same time, men want nothing more in this life than to merge completely with a woman's devotional love and wild energy. Only as a man outgrows his fear can he handle a woman's tremendous love energy without running. And only such a man is worthy of her devotional offering in a committed intimacy. So here's a bit of my point. If you're fearful of your woman, if you get into a spot where she has emotions that you're afraid of, that's your first area of work. And how to do that, we could certainly talk about it. Depends man to man. And only then, if you're not afraid of her, are you even worthy of her potential devotional offering, is what David did is saying. In the rare moments when your depth is invited, so he's speaking to a woman again, in the rare moments when her depth is invited, her pain comes up first. And she often ends up scaring her man away with that pain. So she's talked with us about this for a moment. She's going to show her pain first. Mm-hmm. Why do you believe that is, or what's going on naturally there?
Yeah, and I was just feeling for a moment how I know like men who do this work are also feeling the pain of the situation of wanting so much for their woman to be in devotion, to open to them. And I think it's startling when a woman starts with pain. That's how she stores things in her being. So often, let's say little hurts from maybe beginning the relationship or when she was younger, start to build a collective wall of protection around her heart, around that softer feminine, around that part who wants to surrender, as a way to remind her body, don't do that again. That was not safe. So the only way to get back to that, the beneathness in there, is to allow that wall of pain to emerge, to be seen, to be known, to be understood, to have emotion. And then when she can express that emotion in a container with you, that's when she can kind of touch back into that more devotional self. But without that initial layer, it's just going to be like her trying to push pain down and try to give you what you want. And she'll feel like actually like a failure because she can't do that. And then her own sense of failure often comes out in not fun ways of anger and attack and accusation.
Yeah, Nevin, please. Thanks for raising your hand. Come on in.
Yeah, I mean, really great stuff here, guys, as usual. So I totally get what you're saying about, I'm culpable for sure of being afraid of certain emotions and outbursts and whatnot. But when she has never expressed certain things, there's certain things that you were just saying that she had made, maybe she did shove it down. Maybe it had nothing to do with me. Maybe that's just her own mechanism of dealing with emotions. Maybe she pushed it down, but there's certain things that came up during this separation and now the divorce process that they're coming out now. And I'm like, well, why did you never say this, over 9 years? Like, why did this never come up? And she says, well, I'm just bad at communicating. I'm trying to find out, is it something that I could have done better to create that better emotional safety for her to be able to express that? Or is that just something that's her issue, that she just couldn't express certain things and let those emotions free around anyone, me included. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's too specific to her.
Yeah, it makes,
but
I mean, there's lots of variables there. So my initial answer, and then I'll certainly ask Cynthia, is like, I'm asking myself, could I have worked myself into being able to dunk a basketball, right? I'm like 5'9", 5'10". I can touch the net, and that's about all I've been able to do. So if I had, and I forget what my vertical was in high school and college, but if it was 20 inches higher, then I could probably dunk a basketball. If I had a better trainer, would I have been able to dunk a basketball? I don't know. Am I limited by my natural ability, my genetics? Well, certainly. But do I know where that line actually is? Not exactly. And I have never, paid a professional to try to get my vertical up to dunk a basketball. It just wasn't a priority for me. So throughout her childhood, she wasn't responsible for the way she was raised necessarily. So what are her upper limits? I don't know. But then, were you as skilled as you could have been back when you first began? Well, no, none of us are. So there's no, I hope that we don't try to pin this on ourselves or her. It's a combination of many different ingredients.
Sure. I just don't want to make the same mistakes moving forward. Now, I'm not saying with her, but just, with a future relationship, or certainly with my children, I just want to make sure I'm creating that safe container for a future woman or my children or whoever to, I don't know, to be able to express themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. There's no like, okay, I've completed the 10 steps to have a safe container, and now I have a safe container for the rest of my life. It's not, it's not a black and white thing like that.
Yeah.
And she might say, you've been horrible to me and you thought you were doing great. That's a little bit of what you're saying.
Totally that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there, yeah. So the longer answer is she opening to you in a feminine way? Like that's the symptom or the lack thereof that you're going to see. Right. And if she's closed down, and this is more individual, and we'll have to talk about this more specifically another time. If she's closed down and I invite her to open, which there's many ways to do that, and she doesn't open, and chronically over time, she doesn't open, then we're not serving each other. Something's going on of the many ingredients that we're not serving each other. And that's the indication she doesn't feel like there's a safe container. It's not like, am I succeeding or failing necessarily? Because there's too many ingredients to just pin it on yourself.
Sure.
It's kind of one of those, those answers that, we have to create the world first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then are you considering all the wisdom that we teach? And then where are we? Like, that's part of this question. So that's what comes up for me, Nevin. That's a great question. What comes up for you as far as I'm just a bad communicator, she said. And how come you didn't say anything, 15 years over the past 15 years? What's initially coming up for you about the safe container?
Yeah, I mean, I can so feel into the natural inclination of femininity to be so much of it is unspoken, and that translating things into words is often not a skill set, even if a woman is highly verbal in other areas. And that is such a pain point of, after years, a woman coming and saying, this bothered me and I never told you. And that's never your responsibility to be a mind reader. I think one of the things I offer, I'm thinking about a particular client, is, let's say there's several things that happen where there's a little bit of an emotional upset, traveling, coming back home, there's an argument about the laundry. And after like several one episodes of that, it really is important for a woman to be able to sit down with her partner and kind of go back and talk about something that happened a week ago. And I think when little moments like that, doesn't have to be every time, but when there aren't like periodic check-ins of, tell me about a week ago, which really allows her to kind of feel into her body and go like, what was going on, and maybe go deeper. To me, that feels like the magic and the gold, and allows a woman to show up for you in messy ways as well. And that's the most healing, versus it being perfect all the time and being perfectly aware of what's going on in her world. Is kind of clusters of experience versus every single moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, are you doing your work? Are you emotionally butthurt at that point? Is this, matter to you? All of those things come into play. And what if she's not opening? What if I ask her how she's doing and she just is closed down? These are all things that we've talked about, guys, over time, right? And we could talk about certainly in another time as well. Anything more from there, Nevin, please?
No, I mean, that really gets, I mean, I get it. You know, I am dealing with the issue of like not taking on a lot of the guilt and shame of the certain of situations, and you know, and releasing myself of that as well. Because you know, I am doing the work a lot of times, so I just have to give myself some grace there for sure. Anyway,
Yeah,
let somebody else jump in.
Yeah, great
Thank you,
questions.
guys.
Very good. Awesome. I've got one more slide and then we'll open it up again. Final one here. Just as you have chosen, so again, he's speaking to a woman, just as you have chosen to guard your heart for fear of being hurt, the man you attract will have chosen to claim life more shallowly than his true depth. So the more she's closed, the more she'll match with a man who lives life in a shallow way. This is natural law of us coming together. This is also, there's also family systems theory that's been researched since the 70s that talk about this as well. He's speaking about this in a different way. But continue. He drifts, so he's speaking to a woman. Her man drifts uncommitted to total love because he's afraid of losing what seems like his freedom. So if asking your woman how she's doing, or hey, a week ago when such and such happened with the laundry, if you feel like you're trapped for the next 3 hours in an emotional beatdown, okay, the man's not going to want to ask that kind of question. So that's the point he's making here, is if the woman is asking him to lose his freedom, so to speak, well, you're so busy at work, you need to work less, or you need to not go out with your boys, or you need to not go golfing or not go hunting on the weekends. If you as a man feel like you're losing your freedom, that relationship doesn't feel fulfilling for you. It doesn't feel actually growth oriented. So how do we stand up for a boundary is a different question. Or how do we invite her to open and still go golfing? That's a different question. I'm not attempting to answer today. We'll have to talk about that. Okay, last paragraph. Even if you don't have a lover in your life, or if your lover doesn't seem able to meet your heart with full loving presence, you can learn to keep your heart open to the flow of love. Your heart may hurt. Your heart may even yearn for a deeper way to give and receive love. But your heart practice is to relax open, breathing and feeling in connection. At heart, everybody wants to give and receive love. Everyone wants to give and receive love. And we have to practice, even if it hurts, to have ourselves open and to be in that pain, to not deny the pain or go to some addiction and numb the pain or make an excuse or, call her a bitch and just make it her fault. If you want to stay open to, yeah, it hurts that she doesn't want to step towards you. Yeah, it hurts that she's calling you these things or saying these things to you. And this is a part of your journey as a man. And that's all the way back to these warnings. If your butt hurt, that's a no-go. You got to go take care of that. If you aren't living up to your fullest self, speak with your men about that. Speak with your men's group, post in the forum. And if this isn't truly a hill you're willing to die on, then what are we talking about here? Right? All right, gentlemen, I did a lot of talking today. We have about 20 more minutes. We'd love to hear your questions, hear your scenario. This was an opening, and so I didn't try to answer every question you're going to have as she closes down or has resistance or there's pains from the past. So how is this coming across to you? What question do you have, or what is this reminding you of in your life? Unmute yourself. Come on in. Anybody? Saw a bunch of guys came in too. JT came in. Mike, Franklin, Julio, Tim's here. Anwar's here too. So anyone? Jeff, Jamil, Chris, good to see you guys. Caesar, Dan, Paul. What is this reminding you of, or what question do you have? Aaron, go for it, buddy.
So it's a deep topic. I don't think I'm inviting her to a lot of things right now. I am learning who this person is, right? I'm thinking I'm learning to be a better container right now. Because it's when the separation happened, I removed all the expectations that I had of her, right? Going to the topic that you were mentioning. So, and now it's like not, and this is a deep topic. I think it's not. I see myself sometimes. I'm expanding the container. I think it's happening. That's what I think is happening. As I learn who this person is, as I learn her behaviors, as I learn her depth or how she flows, I'm still analyzing, saying, okay, this is this person. This is how she behaves. This is her world. I haven't like asked for anything like specific, right?
What's something that you would want specifically?
Definitely connection. right? As I learned about the what had happened in the relationship, connection was something that I didn't know what was that, what was
Right.
supposed to happen there. It was like a brand new concept in my mind, right? And I've explored more and more, right? And I see what it means to me, emotionally, physically, and sexually, right? And I've stopped a lot of the behaviors that were not healthy for the relationship in that regards, so we could become something different flourished, right? And from what I'm hearing here on this slide that you're presenting, it's like I shouldn't invite, right? The masculine becomes that, but I'm working. I think I'm working towards that, not there yet, right? I think I have to be more grounded still. There are money topics right now, and I think that doesn't help the situation. So it's like I'm trying to settle myself, to be more grounded, to be more secure on my finances, on everything. Then I can start going in that direction.
Sure. So I understand what you're saying, Aaron. What I hope that none of us put upon ourselves is the restriction that we have to be done before we start this work with her. Like, we have to be done getting our finances in order, be done being amazingly grounded 100%, because that's not how life really works, right? So as you work on grounding yourself more, as you work on settling your finances, you work on connection. So
right.
What's literally something that you would enjoy with her that means connection to you?
That means connection to me more. So, and it's happening, right? It's happening at certain levels, right? The physical touch. It's really happening, and it happened just today, right? It's there, right? And it's like, okay, this is it's physical, it's physical sexual touch. And it's happening, and I'm also noticing how the relationship, or the status of the relationship, helps, right? And to your point about, I'm not done there, right? But I'm making steps, right? And it's like, oh, it's we're getting somewhere, right? Even though I'm not there, or I'm not totally grounded, or my finances are not perfect, it's
sure. Let me jump in. That sounds fantastic, and that's all really cool. My question was, what's something specific that you would want to do in connection with her, that you would say, like, I don't know where you are. Is it come over here and take your bra off and rub your breasts against my face? Probably not. But if you're not there yet, then there's steps in between. Oh, you look at your head, like, maybe. Okay, where are you then?
No, I don't think I'm there, but it's definitely closer than we were, I don't know, a year ago, right?
So how about, hey, I'd love to go for a walk with you this Friday at sunset.
Right.
Yeah. Like
things like that. I think that's acceptable in today's environment.
Okay, good. So give me a specific one that you would want that's appropriate for now.
Definitely.
So I'm gonna make a little bit of a point before you answer, okay? You notice how you're really having to think about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if your woman is right in front of you and she said, if she said this, which most women don't, like, what would you love for connection? What do you want? And you pause and you pause and think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it. That's probably not going to go over.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So you got to know this. I know. That's why I'm asking. Yeah. So that's why I'm asking you this question. I just want to make a point that we can't go farther than we're ready. Yeah. And this is why coaching is so helpful, that a coach can ask you the specific questions to get you. So what is something? Yeah. What's one thing that you would like for connection that's appropriate?
It's probably, so I still have insecurities about.
Okay, Aaron, I'm going to interrupt you again. I want you to answer my question.
No, I know that I'm making it I don't have a clear head, and I know she challenged me a lot on being clear, right?
Right. So do it here with me. Don't say anything else except for something that you would like.
Dinners or trips, basically trips. Yeah.
Okay.
Doing.
Yeah. Where?
Go. I mean, Napa or something like that.
Okay, yeah, awesome. So I would like to take you to the Napa Valley in 2024 for a week or for 10 days. How does that feel? And by the way, even how I'm saying it, I'm picturing being in California. I've never been in Napa Valley. It's in California, right? So
Right.
we've been to the redwoods, but I've never been anywhere else in California. So I'm picturing, it's probably what I'm picturing is probably in Italy. It's not actually in California, but I'm picturing like a cool ass place that we go and it's amazing. And it's like right out of a movie. We sip wine and she's in a bathing suit. I mean, I could keep going, right? This is what you want. Okay, good. So that's a specific thing that you can invite her into. Now you were saying there's insecurity behind that, Aaron?
No, I'm opening up. I'm showing my insecurity here because I feel safe in this group, right? Yeah. I don't do that with her because I get questions. I need to be careful there, right? I need to be quick. Or my mind, it goes. I know what's
the most difficult question she could ask you, or what's the most challenging thing that she might say or do?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Right now, finances are a topic and she's bringing them up, and I that's where I start to stumble a lot. Yeah,
I see. So yeah, you're in a phase of getting finances together for your own self. So that's like a prerequisite.
Right.
Also, gotcha. Cool.
Right.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
No
Good
problem.
to see you. Yeah.
Thank you.
We've got about 1 minute left here today, Cynthia. What do you want to leave the men with? What is this topic reminding you of? Oh, so quickly, certainly, if you haven't been to our website, greatmenmovemountains.com, check out our stuff there. Cynthia, what is this conversation reminding you of as far as asking her for devotion, how to ask her for her to step in?
Yeah, something that really hit me with what Nevin shared was, I think all of us who care and want to do well in relationship and not repeat past mistakes, there can be this assumption that to evoke this kind of devotion in a woman, to be in the grounded place where this relationship gets to flourish, that you as a man have to be perfect all the time at this. And as much as I can resonate in my own being about that belief, true femininity blooms in your life, not from your perfect actions or always saying the perfect thing, but I think again from that soul calling and your awareness of, oh, that moment was as grounded as I could be, or I could be more grounded in the next moment. You're in touch with your own self, or even the reflection of your own self a couple days later, that still counts. And the feminine can still read that and feel that in her body. And when you cultivate that kind of okayness in relationship, the feminine in her own way can also let go of strangling herself with perfection and allow more of her flow. And to me, that's how I've experienced this kind of devotional love. And how I've experienced as a woman that you can truly grow to the masculine demanding, hey, there's more for us here. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to move through all the imperfection of all these trees with you to go there. To me, that's the gold. And that's the biggest gift that you give.
That's very well said. Guys, soon we're going to be announcing the wait list for our upcoming advanced group. It's kind of in alpha mode right now. We're developing it, so we'll announce that for the wait list coming up. Appreciate you guys coming in. See you guys next week.